Order.
Stairs are much easier to go.
Please stand for Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome to tonight's meeting, first of two meetings. This will be the budget hearing, or not hearing. Oh, it is a hearing.
It is.
Why is it also mentioned as a hearing on the regular agenda? Is that also a hearing?
I don't think that it has to be. We've advertised it that way. It can be. So, yes, it will be.
Okay, I'm just saying from a procedural standpoint, you don't make decisions inside of a public hearing, so we'll have to make sure we close it.
Correct.
Correct.
So, first budget hearing is the only thing on this agenda. Tonight's meeting will be conducted in accordance with the Open Meetings Act, a copy of which is posted on the back wall. Is there any comments from the public with regards to the budget hearing? Seeing none, we'll move to item number 3, public hearing regarding the 2022-23 budget summary for all city funds, including tax levy and unused budget. We'll call the hearing to order at 7:01.
Perfectly for me. And I won't spend the whole time that we've spent over the last months going over my entire memo. We don't want to be here for an hour and a half, but I do want to hit some of the high points before Ling does his PowerPoint presentation on the city's budget. And some of those being, we know that we've faced a lot of hard times in the past. You know, we had obviously the Bass Pro buyout of Cabela's that threw a lot of our taxing capacity into the wind there. We survived that, and then only to come out and go into a year and a half of a pandemic, which also created some issues. But the city was very good and very creative at coming up with ways to help small businesses, and this council was very, very instrumental in that, in coming up with forgivable and non-forgivable loans to keep small businesses alive during COVID. We did some great things. We retooled some of the ways we were doing online payments to make it more easier for people and more efficient for people. And then to get through all that and then hit now where we have a economic issue with supply chain issues. With all this, I want to just tout that what this legislative body has not raised the mill levy in the last 4 years. Or at least since I've been here that I know of. And this year we will actually be decreasing our mill levy. So that's something that's very important. I think it's worthy of note. So I wanted to point that out. And some of the reasons for that, obviously some of them are just good fiscal planning. We had no, which is unheard of, in fact, a small decrease in our health insurance, and that's because we track it very closely and very carefully and pay attention to what we're spending because the city is partially self-funded, and we pay very close attention to what we're doing and what networks we use and how we use them. And so that's unheard of, and to make that even better, there was also zero increase in our liability and workman's comp insurance this year either. To be able to say no increase in both those categories in the same year is really terrific, actually. And that also is just city staff, the people behind us here that are very careful and very safety conscious, and we do what we need to do to try to keep those costs low. So thank you to all of them. So I wanted to point that out. Those two were very helpful, but there were also things that we did and this council did and started on 5 years ago. When I first got here, we started an equipment reserve account, which has been instrumental in us being able to acquire the equipment we need to replace aging equipment without going into debt every time that we do it, and that's been instrumental in helping us to continue to move forward and get done what we need to do without creating an undue interest burden on the taxpayers. So a lot has went into this, and I'm very proud of a lot of what we've done, and I just wanted to point that out. There are a couple line items in here that we'd mentioned in the budget workshops where we have budgeted large sums of money. One is a $1,400 or $1.4 million. The other one is a $2 million expenditure. And I just wanted to point out for the public that that's not us just budgeting money. Those are for grant matches. We are working on a lot of projects right now. One is the Safe Streets for All. We're hoping to submit something to the state for that very soon. and that would be a matching grant that we would need to have budgeted in order to move forward with that project so we don't hold it up. And then also there are several other projects. There's downtown beautification projects, housing grant matches, East Old Post Road corridor, and of course the Elks restoration project that may need some assistance from the city as well. And so I wanted to point out those things, and that's why those were in the budget. We did refill finally after a 4-year no rehire in the park department. We are finally replacing that parks position, so I think that will help us a lot in the way we present the city to the public too. Because as you remember, when this first started and we lost all that property tax, the city was and my predecessor was the one that was the city manager then, and we were very frugal. And we cut a lot of things. We cut everything down to the wire. In fact, we started cutting services to the public, reducing library hours, reducing the areas that we mowed and maintained, just to not have to raise mill levy and raise taxes. Those were some of the things that were very tough decisions, and many of the people on this council were there then and remember those tough decisions. And it's hard to tell the public that we can't give them all the services that we're used to, but it's very nice to see that through all the years of fiscal management, we're finally able to maybe refill that position and start getting some of that done again for the city. So I'm excited about that as well. Other than that, I wanted to mention we did also budget the same thing in the street department, a large amount of money, $1 million, in case there would be a grant match there for something to do in the Hickory Square. If we are able to get our creative district, which by the way, we submitted our booklet, and they will be coming next month to visit with us and see some of our sites. I'm super excited about that. That's a fantastic program, and it's worked very well for us, and I'm surprised to find out, or not surprised to find out, I should say, that so many other communities are doing the same thing. So with that said, large projects in the utility department, we'll be bringing something, so I don't want to belabor the electric power generation project. Mike and I will be bringing something to you at the next meeting to probably give you an update on where we are with that. So we have bid out, and MC Schaff was the bid winner for the design of the well number 4 rebuild and the Sky Manor water line. So that's good, and that will all be paid with our ARPA money, so that will be no cost to the taxpayer as well, and it'll be a fantastic project for the people in that area. And also the sewer and water. We have a bar screen, influent pumps, grit washer, all these things that have really needed to be done, and we've been slowly saving in that equipment reserve for I don't know how long now to do these projects. And luckily, those also fall under that umbrella, so we can start moving forward with those right away too, and those are in the budget now. We'll make a mixture of our ARPA money that we have, and also mix that with some of the money that we budgeted, so we can get that project done right away, and still have a positive balance in that department's equipment reserve. So anyway, all positive things, and I just wanted to go over some of them before we get to our PowerPoint that goes over the dollar amounts on everything. So thank you for your time.
Any questions?
Oh yeah, did you have any? I'm sorry.
Any questions for David from council? Any questions from the public regarding the budget for the upcoming fiscal year?
You mentioned 5 different projects that the grant matches were, and I missed one. I've got Safe Streets, beautification, something with housing, and then Elks restoration.
Elks restoration, Safe Streets for All, Creative District, East Old Post Road Corridor Project.
That's
Okay, there you go. Is that the one?
Okay.
Yeah. And if you have more questions after the PowerPoint, I'll be happy to answer those too then.
Thank you.
Yeah, the East Old Post Quarter Project addresses money that is a voluntary tax that Cabela's had been putting aside for beautification of that general area. So it can only be used in that area. We have to account for it. Any other questions? If not, we will, or no, what are you doing next?
PowerPoint.
The PowerPoint.
I was going to say, we're going to have the dog and pony show, right?
It's pretty. I'll let Lori do this next year, though, so she makes it prettier. Yeah, you can't see anyway, can you?
It's a great cover, though. Yeah, go ahead, Lance.
No,
You can always
cover
claim
is
you couldn't see it
fantastic.
later road if it goes wrong.
Gonna flip off
Maddie,
the
would
light.
you mind flipping one of those light switches there?
Oh, not
It
that.
doesn't matter which one to bob, but
You can't see either way,
probably the
right?
back one and then the, yeah, there you go.
There you go. That's it. That looks better.
All right, this is for our budget hearing, so if you want to flip to the next slide for me, Autumn. This is extremely difficult to see on that board, but this is just going over our budgeted expenses that we have for the year. You see in the total general, we have $10,612,947. In those other, the utility departments, comes out to, in non-general, it would be $23,974,440. Debt service is $2,087,771, and that puts our total expenses at $36,675,158. And then the next chart just kind of shows a pie chart of the breakdown, and I realize those are way too tiny to see all the numbers, but the electric and general fund take up the biggest portion of that, 33 and 29%. Sewer's a big chunk of that this year, and we discussed we have that expense if the permit, if we tell us that the federal government tells us we need to do more things out there, we don't have a choice, we have to do that, so that's why that our permit is up this year, so that's why that's that way. Budgeted revenue for the year, you can see in the general, we're at $9,238,700. I will touch that the reason that is lower probably really equates out to that that match, that general fund, or that match for any sort of grant or anything like that. We have that 1.4 sitting in there just in case. And then as you go down to the non-general, we're $20,328,800. Our debt servicing fund matches the expense. That puts us at $31,655,271 for revenues. And then as we break it down again in the pie chart, you can see the same thing where electric and general fund, largest portion of that again. Sewer and wastewater treatment plant, we have that money budgeted is coming in because we would obviously have to bond for anything crazy if we'd have a $4 million project out there. So that's why there is. And then the next one is the page that just kind of goes over it. You see that we're budgeting a deficit of $5,019,887. And then this breaks down why. Every year we budget $500,000 in the electrical and $200,000 in the water department in case of emergency. That takes us down to a negative $4.3 million. The electric department, we've carried over that $2.1 million project for the backup generator from last year, and that puts us at a negative $2.1 million for the year. In street, we have that $1 million expense in there, which is just the matching grant for any creative district or anything like that. That puts us down to a negative 1.1. And then in the general fund, we have increased that special projects to $1.4 million in order to complete some necessary capital projects, and that brings us at a positive $203,833. And then there's that Link J carryover for the third fiscal year that is at roughly $70,000 plus or minus Radcliffe Lane.
That's what it
And so
is.
that puts us at $273,833 for the positive. And then I want to make note of this. It's important that the above capital projects is paid for with existing funds. There are no new taxes or fees that are going to be incurred because of any of those projects. And then the next slide talks about our mill levy. You can see, as David kind of touched on earlier, that it has stayed the same since 2019-2020. And then this year we're dropping it from .586371 to .574936. 0.338854 that is general, and then 0.36082 of that is bond indebtedness. And then we talked about the sales tax. This is the regular 1 cent sales tax. You see we bumped that up in projections. As you guys know from the budget reports that I've given you, that we're doing pretty well in sales tax this year. I'd anticipate we'd probably stay about the same where we're going to be this year to next year, so barring anything crazy. And then the other half-cent sales tax, this is the one for the LB 840. Obviously, $300,000 goes to LB 840 every year, sales tax dollars. And then what we received, those are the actual dollar amounts, what we received, and then what we're projecting for the budget year, and what we projected for this budget year. And you can see we expect that to go up just a little bit next year. And then that infrastructure sales tax is, again, that's what paid for 13th Avenue, and it paid for the Elm Street Elm Street up on the north side. We were able to save, next slide there, thank you. Able to save money for that over the course of the
13th
years,
Street.
over the course of 10 years to pay for those streets completely without using any debt to pay for those streets. And then the property tax breakdown, this shows where the mill levies were for 21, 21, 22. You can see that the city of Sydney takes up 24% of the mill levy. The school and the bond, the school capital take up the large chunk of that. WNCC, ESU, about 5% between those two. Cheyenne County takes up 17%. And then the NRD, the airport, and the Historic Society take up about 5% as well. And then if your home was valued at $100,000 in Sydney in 2022, you would pay $2,433 in property taxes. You see education takes up a big chunk of that. It's $1,355 of that would go to the education services. $575 of that would go to Sydney, $407 to Cheyenne County, $50 to South Platte NRD, $45 to the airport, and then less than $1 goes to the Historic Society. And then the dollar just kind of breaks that a little bit. And then we have the accomplishments that I won't bore everybody with, and then we'll just get to the last page of the slide there, which is the capital equipment that's going to be purchased in using the Equipment Reserve Fund this year. And as David touched on, this is all money that was been saved. This is interest-free cash payments for everything. You see the cemetery is budgeting for a new roof. Parks is looking at a new mower. Police department's looking for a new police cruiser. Street department has to replace a truck that was allegedly burned down by a finance director.
Not mention the maple syrup incident.
I won't talk about the syrup incident. Aunt Jemima gives me flashbacks now. The water department has their meters, the electric department has the mini excavator, and then the sewer department, a large portion of that's going to be kind of split between ARPA dollars as well as their equipment reserve fund, and so we have $829,000 of capital equipment purchases this year. So that's my pretty PowerPoint.
Any questions for Lane about the budget? Any questions from the public for our finance director? Yes?
One comment, I just want to say thank you for having that on your website and making it available. We've been able to review it prior to this meeting, and that's very useful. Thank you.
Thanks for taking advantage of that.
Thank Lori for that.
Any other questions for staff? Oh, hey! I'm turned into a different kind of, those budget cuts for sure.
Lost our power.
If there's no other questions regarding budget, we'll close the public hearing at 7:18. That really is the only agenda item for the specific budget hearing meeting. No other comments, questions. We will close that meeting at 7:18 and adjourn for that, and immediately go into our regularly scheduled meeting for Tuesday, September 27th, 2022. And gosh darn, it's got the pledge on there, so we're gonna. Councilman Sherman says we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it.
Never know.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We may do it again.
Patriotic. Yeah.
I think we might. Welcome to tonight's meeting, Tuesday, September 27th, 2022. Tonight's meeting will be conducted in accordance with the Open Meetings Act, a copy of which is posted on the back wall. We do not have absences.
It's still you.
First item up would be approval of the September 13th, 2022 minutes. Any comments, questions, corrections, anything anybody saw? If not, is there a motion to approve the minutes? Motion by Radcliffe, second. By Galloway. Roll call.
Elwinger?
Yes.
Sherman?
Yes.
Galloway?
Yes.
Radcliffe?
Yes.
Olson?
Yes.
Motion carries 5 in favor, 0 against. Just gonna make sure you're on your toes here. Item number 3, comments by the public. Is there anything anybody would wish to speak to that is not otherwise on the agenda? Seeing none, we'll move on to item number 4. Public hearing, consideration of the following items to implement the fiscal year 22-23 budget. So you want to go back into a?
No, Mr. Mayor, I would prefer,
Just do the items.
let's simply acknowledge that that public hearing is a mistake and move forward, because
That's already
otherwise you're going to repeat the same information.
That was my thoughts. Okay, so seeing as how we have already conducted the public hearing just right before this, we'll strike that, and this will be actual consideration of the budget, setting the property tax different than last fiscal year through Resolution 20220902.
Evening, Council. Link Zire, Finance Director. The required budget report to the state auditor has been prepared and is ready to send to the appropriate state authorities. The total proposed 2022 tax rate was published in accordance with Nebraska State Statute 13-501 to 13-513, and that is .574936. Out of this tax rate, .338854, or $1,520,453, will be appropriated for general purposes, and .236082, or $1,077,409, will be appropriated for bond indebtedness. Attached is the Resolution 20220902, approving the different tax dollars than last year. And that just says everything that I just did, so.
So any question?
Yeah, when they say tax dollars, does that mean like the dollar amount of no levy rate?
The dollar amount.
Really?
The dollar amount.
Tax dollars,
It-
no dollar deputy you gotta do.
You would have to, I would assume, I guess, I don't know that I've ever thought of that before. If you didn't change your dollar amount at all, you'd still have to do this, wouldn't you? Because your mill levy
Yes, your
would be
mill levy
different,
would
yeah,
change
so
with whatever the
it's
valuation is,
Yeah.
yeah.
Any other questions for Lane or staff? Is there a motion then to pass Resolution 20220902?
So moved.
Motion by Radcliffe, second by Olson. Roll call.
Sherman?
Yes.
Galloway?
Yes.
Radcliffe?
Yes.
Olson?
Yes.
Elwinger?
Yes.
Motion carries 5 in favor, 0 against. Okay. The next item then would be consideration of a motion to increase the restricted funds for lid calculation by 1%. That's something that's been done on a somewhat regular basis.
Yeah, we do
I'll let you
this.
speak to what it
Yeah.
is, though.
I wish you wouldn't. We do this every year. When I was at the finance conference this year in June, one of the guys from the state auditor, Jeff Schreier, gave a presentation on this, and essentially what this does is it allows the amount of dollars you're allowed to save. State of Nebraska is pretty stringent on what we're allowed to have in reserves as a municipality, and this allows it. And he had used the example of if you did this every year since it was allowed or whatever, you would have approximately $1.5 million extra that you would be allowed to keep that other municipalities would have missed out on. And so that's essentially what this is this allows you to save a little bit more money in case those disasters come up. So, and attached you can see that this would increase our lid, our unused restricted funds authority would go up to $707,568.94 is what it allows. And it's based off of prior year's restricted fund authority, and then your 22 growth from the assessor divided by your 2021 valuation multiplied by this percentage that I don't know where they get it from, but
Okay. Any questions for Lane? So basically, increasing funds that are able to be saved in case of a disaster, tornado, flooding, whatever. Okay. Is there a motion to increase the restricted funds for lid calculation by 1%?
So moved. Second.
Motion by Olson, second by Radcliffe. Roll call.
Galloway?
Yes.
Radcliffe?
Yes.
Olson?
Yes.
Elwinger?
Yes.
Sherman?
Motion carries 5 in favor, 0 against. Item number C, 4C, appropriation ordinance number 1839 for fiscal year 2022-23 budget. Is there a motion to designate the ordinance?
So moved.
Motion by Radcliffe to designate ordinance 1839. Second by Olson. Roll call.
Radcliffe?
Yes.
Olson?
Yes.
Elwinger?
Yes.
Sherman?
Yes.
Galloway?
Yes. Motion carries 5 in favor, 0 against, so I'd ask the clerk to read ordinance number 1839 by title.
An ordinance to adopt the budget statement to be termed the annual appropriation bill to appropriate sums for necessary expenses and liabilities, to provide for the all-purpose levy for all objects or purposes, to provide for filing or copies of the budget document with the Auditor of Public Accounts and the Cheyenne County Clerk, and to provide for an effective time when this ordinance shall be in full force and take effect, be it ordained by the mayor and the city council of the city of Sidney, Nebraska.
Okay, so that would constitute the first reading of ordinance number 1839. So I'd ask, is there consideration then for waiving the 3 readings? Is that something we want to do?
It's due to the state by the 30th, so.
That's their problem. Motion by Sherman to waive the 3 readings.
Second.
Second by Radcliffe. Roll call.
Olson?
Yes.
Elwinger?
Yes.
Sherman?
Yes.
Galloway?
Yes.
Radcliffe?
Yes.
Motion to waive the 3 readings passes 5 in favor, 0 against.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
In that vein, is there any significant material differences between the budget that we are approving here and what it was last year?
The significant differences, I will point them out. I would say that the electric, we had that budgeted last year. So the sewer department would be the significant, probably the largest one. And the budget didn't change. We just we put that line item in there in case we did have to bond for anything. And so we have that in the revenue as well. So like last year, I think the sewer was probably, 1.7 million or something like that, and they're at 4.5. I don't anticipate that we're going to spend 4.5 million. I anticipate that we'll spend 1.7. But just in case the feds make us do something, we're prepared, we're ready to do it. We don't have to come back to you in March and say, hey, now we have to do this. So that would be
Do you have some idea that the feds may ask you?
our permit is up this year. It's due in March of 2023, I believe. And so it could. A lot of it depends on the administration that's in office and what they would like to see done and how you dispose of your waste. And so it could happen. We don't anticipate. The last time that I spoke to Todd and Todd spoke to the state about it, they didn't anticipate anything happening, but it's better to be prepared for this and not need, better to have and not need than need and not have. So other than that, I don't know that our debt servicing funds did go down. That total went down a little bit. I think nothing else really stands out to me. The street project is $1 million more, I guess, too. We have a little of that $1 million in streets too, and that would just be if we got a grant for downtown, we were ready to go. We could, fix Hickory Street and all that without having to again come back and do a rebudgeting again or an amendment to the budget. So,
So
This is-
cumulatively, how does it compare?
what was our budget last year? Was it 33 million? Is that
I
right?
think so, yeah.
It's
But
33
it's
plus
about $3
the-
million different.
Yeah, it's about $3 million different, because I think it was 33 total last year, and then
Think
we're
so.
at 36 this year, so. And obviously, a big chunk of that is what is in the wastewater treatment, I mean, that is 3 million of it, so.
Okay. Appreciate that.
Any other questions? So we have designated ordinance 1839, read it by title, and waived it the 3 readings, so that constitutes the final reading for ordinance 1839. So do I have a motion to pass ordinance number 1839?
So moved.
Motion by Radcliffe, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ellwanger, roll call.
Elwinger?
Yes.
Sherman?
Yes.
Galloway?
Yes.
Radcliffe?
Yes.
Wilson?
Yes.
Motion carries 5 in favor, 0 against, so I would ask the clerk to read the ordinance by number.
1839.
Perfect. And lastly, is there a motion to publish ordinance 1839?
So moved.
Motion by Olson,
Second.
second by Radcliffe, roll call.
Sherman?
Yes.
Galloway?
Yes.
Radcliffe?
Yes.
Wilson?
Yes.
Elwinger?
Yes.
Motion carries 5 in favor, 0 against. So that concludes things with the budget. Next up, well, not quite. Item D, consideration of resolution 2022-0903. This is regarding the annual designation of depositories for 2022-23. Basically just deciding which banks get which funds, and that's something that's been split up for
Yep.
years and years.
Yeah, we have it split up between 4 banks on here, and it is tough because, I mean, you know, the FDIC insurance is only $250,000. Obviously, we have more than that, and so we have to have all of our money secured. This is what guarantees that all of our money is secured. I do want to note, because there's something a little bit different here, is on Security First Bank, we do the Nebraska Bankers. It's a pooled collateral, and essentially what they do is they send you a report every month that guarantees that you are in compliance with the state or whatever. This was something the Nebraska Bankers Association did, something that Security First had talked to me about, and they gave me a contact to reach out to who had been doing it, and they loved it, and he's been doing this for 30 years, so I took him at his word that this was going to be a good deal, and I think it is too, because we get a report every month that says you're in compliance, and that's it, and I don't have to type out every one of these little fun 3-letter, these 8-letter QSIP numbers on them, so.
There was a whole nother paragraph before one.
It was, this is way nice, I like this, so.
Okay, any questions for staff regarding the annual designation of depositories? If not, is there a motion to approve resolution 2022-0903?
So moved.
Motion by Radcliffe, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ellwanger, roll call.
Galloway?
Yes,
Radcliffe?
Yes.
Wilson? Elwinger?
Yes.
Sherman?
Yes.
motion carries 5 in favor, 0 against. All right, thank you for that.
Thank you.
Next up, item 5, consideration resolution 2022-0904 regarding the park project that was recently completed. Obviously, we've had a lot of great comments by it, and council was especially appreciative of the efforts, so asked our city manager to reach out about providing some official recognition, as small as it may be. So I'll go ahead and read a resolution that we have put together. Whereas the Park Project Committee had a vision for providing an updated park space for all who enjoy playing and exercising in the great outdoors by replacing old playground equipment while providing a safe atmosphere for children of all ages and abilities. And whereas the Park Project provides a key asset to the citizens of Sidney while also serving as a shining example of what can be accomplished through the dedication, commitment, and volunteerism of many. And whereas the Park Project creates a destination experience for families to enjoy, uniting the entire community in the Park Committee's vision, and whereas the city recognizes with distinction the Park Project Committee members who spent countless hours fundraising and seeking private donations to fund the park project, now therefore let it be resolved that the City of Sidney, Mayor and City Council would like to formally accept this great gift with much gratitude, thanking the Park Project Committee for their commitment to community. And since it is worded as a resolution and not a proclamation, I guess we'll ask for a motion to approve it. And I'll make that motion. Second. Motion by Galloway, second by Sherman, roll call.
Radcliffe?
Yes.
Wilson? Elwinger?
Yes.
Sherman,
Yes.
Galloway.
Yes. So it approves 5-0. And again, we certainly can't thank everybody that was involved in this project for everything that you've done. The effort was simply outstanding and very inspiring to the community. So thank you very much. Floor is yours. Any words?
I'm not a speaker. I'll stand next to it.
There it is.
Project started. I'm Maddie Wilkinson, for anyone that doesn't know my face. Yeah, thank you is the simplest way we can say it, and we thank the city for backing us up clear back in March of 2019 when we came to the city with this big dream. So we appreciate you letting us take the lead on this and just backing us up the whole entire way, and so we appreciate that. We appreciate the whole entire community. I think everyone was involved, from kids to adults to grandparents and even people outside of the community. So it was an awesome experience for me to get to know my community better and everyone that's involved in it. And so I'm really excited to bring this to Sydney, and I'm glad it's here for everyone to enjoy.
Yes, thank you.
Anything else?
No, that's pretty much it. We just appreciate the opportunity that you guys gave us to make this happen, and appreciate the chance. So we're excited.
Well, it was an outstanding effort with outstanding results, and a simple thank you doesn't do it justice, but thank you.
Yeah.
I
Absolutely.
will say there's a couple of volunteers in the community that weren't involved. They're showing up every week with Clorox wipes and cleaning it down
Wow,
and everything else. So
that's
we
great.
do have an amazing community that's trying to keep up with it too.
Yeah,
Wow,
and I've seen the
that's
Parks
amazing.
Department out there like blowing some of the mulch and
Oh,
things like
yeah,
that. So
That's a big
yeah,
deal.
we
Thank
appreciate
you.
the upkeep and love that it's
Yeah,
received.
And obviously, this isn't everybody involved.
No.
You know,
You feel the
Yes, at how many people it took.
We probably had over 40 to 50 people on our committee, and even that's probably a low number, because we had people that came in and helped with a couple fundraisers, or a couple of people that had advice on this or that. So there was a lot of people that went into this project.
It truly took all of our community and the talent that's in our community. There's a lot of talent that people have, and a lot of people offered their time, which is the biggest donation really anybody could give us. So a lot of people have supported it, and we really appreciate it. We hope it continues to be used as heavily as it is right now. So
Well, it will be a key asset to the city of Sydney for many years to come, and a shining example of what can be done when the community pulls together, so thank you.
yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
thank you.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, ladies.
Okay. Item number 6, consideration of resolution 22020905 regarding
I'll
2-hour
start.
parking from 10th Avenue Jackson Street to King Street.
I'll start this out. Yeah, that's the side opposite the county building. And I've had some concerns from local businesses that are on that side, that there are people that are putting their cars, and actually leaving them there all week long and never moving them, blocking off their businesses. And so I thought it was appropriate. It fits in with the scheme of that block to make that, at least that one side, 2-hour parking. I didn't want to really get involved in what the county wants to do for their side, but I mean, we could. But I thought it would make things a lot easier. And I do have a business owner tonight here, if you want to speak to Sarah, wanted to come and say something. You deal with it every day, so you probably know about it.
Yes, so I was actually talking to one of the business owners that's open. We're planning on being open next year. She said that she had an experience where one of her older clients could not park and stop in for her business for a couple days because of the heat, because she couldn't walk from across the street or around, and all the parking spots have been filled for an entire week with renters or people that don't actually visit the businesses along that street. There are 4 businesses that get well, 3 businesses that are open right now that get clientele that typically stay there for less than an hour, maybe longer, like the Casa, Anderland, the counseling center. I think the train store moved, and now there's I think a clothing store that's going to be dominating that place. And then we're planning on opening sometime early, hopefully 2023, and we expect to have people coming and visiting us as well during the days. But we have at least 3 vehicles that seem to park there for the majority of the business hours and not move, and at least 1 that parks there from Sunday night until Friday afternoon when he gets off of work. And parks his other truck on the other side of the street for the remainder of the weekend. And so what we're proposing is just the west side for, I believe there's 6 spots. And then on the east side, I think there's 8 or 9 spots that those customers could park in, or those people could park in. That's where we typically park as business owners, to not block off the customers from parking there. So, and then around the corner at Sutton, they have 2-hour parking in front of their business, but there's 2 spots in between their business and the light at 10th and Jackson. And that's what kind of prompted this, is they have 2-hour parking in front of their business. Maybe we should ask for 2-hour parking in front of ours.
Okay. One thing you said, I was just going to ask for clarification from Chief. What's the current regulation on how long a vehicle can be parked on Main Street, or one of the main?
Without a regular parking limit like this, it's 72 hours.
That's what I thought. Okay.
And we haven't reached out to any of the people that are parking there right now. We haven't seen a need to from our perspective, because our business isn't open. But I have gotten some neighbors that have just talked to me about it. So I told them I would propose it.
I might also say that the 72 hours was designed so that somebody coming home on Friday night, parking at their residence, could actually leave a car parked in front of their house all weekend without having to move it. It wasn't really designed for a downtown business type environment. So,
Okay. I just remember it coming up one time here a couple years ago on Illinois Street with a vehicle. I don't know. I just thought there was, I thought there was something we had on the books that addressed a small part of that. But
yeah, and I know it's gone from 24 hours up to 72, so.
And do we have other areas like on 10th Street and
Illinois.
down by
Yeah.
San Luis? Is
Yeah,
that
there's a
street
few
have
of them.
2-hour parking right now?
Yeah.
where else do we have 2-hour
Yeah, where else
parking?
do we
Well,
have
from Hickory to Illinois, and then from 10th to 11th on Jackson. What else is down there? Well, and then,
Hickory Street
yeah,
too.
Hickory Street.
And we were actually talking about, we actually think it goes to Jackson Street.
Right.
On 10th Avenue. And then Illinois Street from 13th to 9th, I think it is.
So this would just extend it 1 block on one
And
side
then,
from what we already have.
Jackson Street from 10th Avenue to, I think, 8th or something.
Would be my guess.
So it's not inconsistent with what we're doing in a lot of the other downtown areas?
I don't think so.
Council, any questions, comments?
So does the current area include behind the courthouse as well?
Behind the courthouse.
Yeah, from Jackson to King?
Along
I
Jackson
don't
Street,
think
it's a
so.
2-hour parking limit there by the courthouse, but not on 10th Avenue.
You're not on 10th.
But I'm sorry, 11th.
On 11th Avenue.
11th?
From 11th to.
Like behind, basically behind the courthouse where the sheriff's.
On the west side of the courthouse.
So-
Well, not the west side, but the Jackson Street
Side.
from 11th Avenue.
11th to 10th.
Is 2-hour parking.
Yes,
So, but not 11th Avenue on the west side of the court.
because that's the those are reserved for a lot of sheriffs and stuff like
Yeah.
that over there, yeah.
Well, yeah, a lot of emergency vehicle parking over there, and then a couple of judges' spots.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
So, and then the west side of the street is just people coming and going to the courthouse. So,
And then the parking lot that's in front of the courthouse,
the 2 parking lots. in
or
front.
yeah, one on each side,
Yeah.
is that open to the public as well?
I
I-
don't know.
Yeah,
We still have any.
Yeah, the county would control
Those are
that.
county parking
Yeah.
lots, so.
I assume they would be, but
On your side up there is not 2-hour either, on the courthouse.
South side of the courthouse. Okay. Any other questions? Is there a motion to, so how many parking spots is this on that?
I believe it's
6.
6
I think it's 6 as well.
So it'd be all the parking spots on
on
that
the
side?
west side, on 10th between Jackson
the
and
east side.
East- on the east side.
The east side of 10th Street from
Yes.
Jackson to,
King,
King,
like right
yeah.
by Security or Sydney Federal Savings and Loan. I
okay.
think they don't have spots in front of them, but I think it starts at the train store or the old train store.
But this would be all parking spots on that side.
Yes.
How many apartments are above?
So there's
There's-
two above 1001. There's none above ours currently. I believe there's two above Anderland. And I am not quite sure about what's above Casa or Destiny. I have not seen renters parking there.
Yeah, I don't think there's anybody living over Casas.
I do not believe so. There's
so
always
either.
those windows above, but
Yeah.
I don't recognize cars.
Yeah.
There's two above Faye's old place.
Right.
And there's
There's
two
four
on
up
the corner.
there. There's four
That's her
in
place.
Money Pit, and then there's two above Andrews Trains.
Right, and then there's a couple of Jordan Ball's old office.
That's the Andrews Trains, yeah.
And you're not using yours for apartments yet, are you?
Oh, no.
So,
No, those are not
And I
populated.
believe there's two in the Stephens building on the corner.
around
There's two
the,
above-
around the
above
corner, yeah.
1001. That's, well, you mean on the Stephens Furniture?
No, it's above, I think, over 21 Trucking is there now, right there on the corner of 10th and Jackson. There's two up there, four in the Money Pit and two in the Andrews Trains.
And then you're not
That's
using
our
yours
building.
currently, so that would be all of them.
We've seen 4 vehicles typically park out front.
Does this create an inconvenience for people living in that area?
Our current 2-hour parking regulation allows for unlimited parking from 8 PM to 8 AM. So that's when most of the businesses are closed anyway, so.
They would just need to park on the other side, just right across the street, outside of that
Yeah,
time.
yeah, outside of that
outside
time
of that
period, they would have
yeah.
to either abide by the 2-hour parking or park somewhere else, so.
But the 2-hour parking has a time limit on it.
Mhm.
8 to 8, or what did you say?
8 PM to 8 AM is what the ordinance says, so.
The signs don't, though. Like, if you look around town, they don't say it. So that is something I observed.
You can't tell that.
Yeah, I wouldn't have known, that's why I asked. I wasn't aware that it only applied to 8 to 8, 8 AM to 8 PM.
We'll take a look at the ones that are around, if there's some that aren't right, Hank and I will
Most
work on
of those
that.
signs were put up before that AA
Yeah,
to 8
yeah,
PM
yeah.
was installed. That's why they're not on there.
Sure.
So when they need replacement, they'll probably have the 8 AM to 8 PM.
So in the other areas, we have blocks where the entire length of the block is 2-hour parking?
But Hickory Square it is.
I believe from 13th to 9th on both sides of Illinois.
Mhm.
Illinois probably is.
Yeah, 13th and 9th, and then Illinois to Hickory for sure.
And then when you get south of Illinois, it's sporadic. Like, there's little sections of each block that I've noticed that have it, and it's not every block.
Okay. Thoughts of the council? No comments, no questions?
I mean, so would this require 3 readings and all that?
No, it's a resolution.
It's a resolution,
It'd
yeah.
be nice to have this, have more community knowledge and input on this.
You
Yeah.
certainly have the opportunity to
You can
table
table
it.
it and vote in 2 weeks from now, yeah.
We're essentially just adding 6 parking spots to the area that's already this way, right? Right.
Yes.
So,
I'm a little confused. The signage does not detail the violation?
What's that?
It doesn't have the hours.
Some of the signs
Doesn't
don't
have
have
the
the 8 AM to
So-
8
so-
PM.
so-
Oh, I'm sorry, other way around.
You just have 2-hour parking?
Right.
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 Yes.
Okay.
how many 2-hour parking violations do you typically do in a week in the other
Well,
spots?
usually we respond on complaints on those and stuff. We don't have guys running around checking tires and stuff like that. But, if we get a call that there's a vehicle that's been parked somewhere for over you know, several hours and stuff, we'll go contact them or issue a parking ticket. And so, it could be a couple of
Generally,
weeks.
try to resolve that
You
personally first. or-
try to get them
Yeah,
moved, right?
we always try for voluntary compliance. You know, talk to whoever it is that's parking there. Some of them are business owners that will park in front of their business and stuff for, you know, a period of time. But a lot of it is the people, some of the people are parking up, that live up above the apartment, or the businesses downtown too, so. Always try for voluntary compliance before we start throwing paper on them.
It's like the crane process.
Yeah.
I guess in my mind, I'm trying to weigh, I mean, I see a need for it, but I also would be understanding of people that live in the area, or if you consider the parking around the courthouse, how difficult that is on most occasions. If somebody would, if they had court cases or things that went beyond 2 hours. So I guess I'm trying to weigh if there's a need for all 6 spaces to be 2-hour parking, or some spaces, or,
When I go down there, I don't typically see a lot of people parked on the other side of the street, but you guys probably drive by there more than I do.
Usually when it lines up in front of the courthouse there, when they have jury trials or something like that, you'll get a lot of people parked in there and stuff. And most people doing business at the courthouse will usually park on the north end of the courthouse and go in and out that north entrance from the courthouse, so. Unless they have extended business to do in the courthouse, they usually come in and out.
And we've observed that Sutton doesn't typically have many people parking in front of their 2-hour parking zone, and people are able to come in and walk straight into their business. So I think there's like a element of kind of respect for that business to not park in front of it due to that sign being there.
okay.
I would tell you, Roger, that, I mean, I'm in and out of the courthouse
Yeah.
all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And in the many years that I've been practicing here, I can always find a spot at the courthouse, you know, to go in and do my business. So I don't think that part is an issue. I mean, you may have to go around the block once, but there's always a place. There's so many places to park, both the
Okay.
parking lots and the west side, the north side, you know.
Yeah. I'm just trying to, I guess, figure out, you know, something that helps one party without
If you-
being cumbersome to another party.
If you want to table it and for me to write up some diagrams or pull some, or get some statements
do
from
that.
some of the neighbors, I can do some of that as well. If you want me to see if I can get some of their participation and opinions on this. Like, I talked to the owner of Sutton when she was getting the renters moved in. I talk to Shannon all the time, who owns Anderland. Talk to the Casa lady almost daily, so we see each other all the time. You want me to get a statement or something from them, how they feel about it?
Is there parking behind, what's behind that block? I'm trying to think, there's Tim's Law Office and then.
So there's a
There's a
parking
parking lot
lot
there.
next to Sutton, and I believe that's actually Sutton's
That's
parking lot.
Sutton's, that's private
Yeah.
parking.
That's not a,
Yeah.
And
And
There's a lot
big
behind.
parking lot behind the bank over
Behind the
there.
bank.
There's a lot behind Sydney Federal, so it'd be just basically to the east. That's also a private lot.
I'm not sure who owns that.
That's owned by
lot.
the bank.
Bank owns it.
Yeah. But yeah,
People use it all the time, but the bank owns it.
yeah. It's the super secret parking lot.
super
Is there
secret.
street parking along that street, I'm assuming?
Yeah.
Yeah.
By this same lot we're talking about?
Yeah.
there's street parking in front of Mattoon, there's street parking in front of the extension office, the healthcare facility, and the other corner drilling company.
RV
And-
Borkett Oil.
RV Market.
Yeah. And so on that block, there's that, and then there's the 8 or 9 spots on the west side of 10th. And then I believe all of King on that south side is open. Believe it's parallel parking.
On that block it is, yeah. The other side of the courthouse is not.
Wishes of the council? If we,
would like to see a table so we can get more information. I think it goes both ways.
Yeah, I think you raise a fair question. Absolutely fair question. But I don't know if renters would have the same viewpoint or not. And since it's
I'm a little interested in what the landlord's responsibility to provide parking for, people they collect rent from.
it's as is. But they might have a preference. They might most certainly have a preference on whether it was
Well,
all.
I think that they ought to be part of the solution. I mean,
Yeah, but at least part of this.
Ordinances on them, you can't park in
Yeah,
place.
that's what I'm saying. At least part of the discussion.
Yeah.
Yeah. If there's no objections then from council, I would ask that we table this until the next meeting and try to gather more input from not only business owners, but
We can do
people
that.
in that area as well as landlords and just try to get a better picture, I guess, all the way around. Does that sound fair enough?
That sounds great.
All right. I do appreciate you coming forward. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll table that for the next meeting. Staff, see if we can reach out to
Yeah, I'll do that.
everybody that has properties.
I'll talk to everybody along there, and as well as the landlords.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, make sure that everybody's included in the discussion. Item number 7, consideration of the police vehicle. So, yeah,
Evening, Chief Aikens, sorry guys.
great.
You have a memo in your packet requesting to purchase 2 police vehicles to replace a 2012 Chevy Tahoe with 160,000 miles on it and a 2013 Dodge Charger, which has got about 122,000 miles on it. Haven't been able to buy any patrol cars since the end of the pandemic. Every time I go to buy them, you either have a short ordering window or there is not one available. So this year I was able to get a hold of 3 different vendors, 4 different vendors and 5 different options for the possibility of purchasing police vehicles. I have the money in equipment reserves of $120,000. And I'm recommending that we purchase 2 special service police vehicles from Gene Steffi's from Fremont for $41,257 a piece, which would be the lowest number on the ones I looked at. Any questions?
Just for a quick point, normally, we try to do one every year rather than being stuck
That's
having to
my
buy
original
2 in
thought.
1 year, but yeah.
5-year plan was to do one
Yeah.
every year,
So it
but
spreads it out.
because of the non-availability of them, I've kind of got backed up against the wall and have to get a couple this year, so.
But these would actually be split between 2 fiscal year budgets.
I've
So what was
been
said-
talking with Lane about that, and
Would
It's
have to
quick.
all come out, because we would, these wouldn't get here until April of 2023, and I think I'm being generous by giving them April.
Okay.
But, so
I just thought I had read that as a possibility, so I thought I would.
Well, that would be with the Panhandle, because Panhandle.
If we
has
went
2
that, I've got.
2 on the lot, so you could, we could go do one tomorrow and then one on Monday, and it's in 2 different fiscal years.
Gotcha.
But it obviously is pretty significant, and those aren't fully packaged vehicles. This one, we kind of got lucky that we had them in when we were talking to them, because the other ones were not police packaged vehicles. That one is. We just know that they're going to open the order for, the window to order is going to open soon. And so like that, I think it's next, I think it's the 1st. Is when the
Yeah.
window to- And you have about 2 to 3 days to order them, that's it.
can order them on the 1st, and they're talking about starting manufacture in November, so, and they're thinking, what, was it 180 days or something
Well,
like that, or
he
could
said
be.
180 days, but realistically speaking, we're probably looking at May.
And with this being equipment reserve, it's not money that would, go away at the end of a year.
And there was, I asked about the trade-in value of these vehicles, and we're better off just pulling the equipment off them, selling them at a police auction, so.
So Chief, on the Steffi vehicles, do they are police prepared, I guess?
Yes, they come with the heavy alternator and stuff like that, and then I just have to add the dual charge system and push bumper and siren to it. And then the equipment off our old vehicles that we'd be getting rid of, some of it would be going into those vehicles. And then we'd be purchasing some new equipment. The center consoles and stuff won't work out of the old vehicles in them, so.
Whereas the Panhandle bid is doesn't have those advantages. Is that correct?
Yep, pardon me?
The Panhandle bid doesn't have the advantage on the vehicles that they have the,
Well, we wouldn't get, figured out what the add-on would be for it and stuff and added it to the price of their vehicle, so, which is what we have to do with all of them anyways, it's about $2,000 a vehicle to
okay,
put
so you'd
them.
have to add 2,000 on to the Panhandle.
Well, that price is already added on here, to all of those.
So
And with the Panhandle vehicle, talking with them, I can't put the push bumper on it and the stuff that's mounted on the front of the vehicle because of the sensor pack that's available in those private civilian vehicles, so,
So are you proposing buying pickups?
what's that?
Are you proposing that we buy pickups?
If I could have Tahoes, I'd get them, but I can't get Tahoes, and the Ford Explorers are a little small for some of the guys that I have working there, when you get all that equipment inside of them, so.
That's the only thing I'm.
And they're not available yet either, so. So my best option is the pickup trucks right now, so,
I think that'd be a good option.
yeah.
Having the bed is an advantage.
What do you do?
Having the bed is an advantage.
Yeah. Pardon me?
They're crew cab.
Oh, the crew cab.
They are crew cab pickups.
We're not going to put the people in the back, right?
Yeah.
No, but it did, because we don't have any pickups currently, do we? Other than code
well,
enforcement vehicle, or?
Well, we had two pickups, but one of them was the chief's vehicle, which when Ed came, we ended up trading it, or not trading it, but giving it to the city for the building inspector's position. And then I have
That's the one we have.
a regular extended cab pickup truck that we use for our narcotics investigator. And right now it's being used as a travel vehicle for our officer in the academy, so.
Would you put hard tonneau covers over the pickup?
I'm actually looking at a cargo box on the back of it that we put down the tailgate and then two big drawers slide out. So-
yeah.
So those-
Utilizing it.
Those are pretty
Yep.
reasonably priced, plus it leaves
won't mention any names.
leaves the top of the box and the pickup available for any cargo that we might have haul in there.
Sure.
Discuss it. I'll stop that.
Makes sense.
Yep.
Okay.
And these pickups are similar in price to if you would get an Explorer, Tahoe probably more, I guess.
If the Explorers were available and the Tahoes were available, Tahoes would probably be a little bit more pricier than these, and the Explorers would be under this
I'll
price.
wait.
But we don't know when that bid is going to come out. If I had to call Gene Steffi, I wanted to know that they were going to bid that special service vehicle for police this month coming up, so.
Yeah. Well, I think you got good information. I thought pickups is interesting, but yeah. So we'd be looking at both. So how much do we have in the reserve account right now then?
120 something.
128,000.
128.
Okay. So I mean, we're not in a bind by buying two.
And that's just police.
And then-
Just
Right.
police's
Right.
portion is 120,000, and then we're gonna put in 45.
We'll have another infusion by October 1st, right?
Okay.
So then we'll have enough then in 2024 then to go back to the one a year then.
Yeah, that's probably the
Yeah.
next question then.
Yeah.
So that wouldn't put us in a bind for
Right,
staying
right.
on schedule for.
We'd still have over 60,000
year.
then going forward.
Okay. Okay. I can't think of any other questions. Anybody else have any questions for Chief? Do we have a motion then to proceed with Chief's recommendation on the purchase of two police vehicles? Motion by Olson. Is there a second by Sherman? Roll call.
Olson?
Yes.
Elwinger?
Yes.
Sherman?
Yes.
Galloway?
Yes.
Radcliffe?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yep, motion carries 5 in favor, 0 against.
Hey, Roger, just to clarify, was that for one or two?
2.
Okay,
That was the recommendation.
okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay. City managers report.
And I don't have a lot tonight. I usually have a bunch of stuff. But I did have a meeting on September 21st with representatives at WNCC, their leadership team. And it's very positive. They're wanting to bring some new programs to town. We're still hashing out the details and how we would get the trainers and things like that. But I think it's extremely positive for this community to get those kind of programs running. And at some point, I will probably bring something to you because they want to partner with this legislative body on maybe some shared space or something to do even just a part of their training for these classes where they need kind of a shop type space to do so. And so I just wanted you to be aware, nothing yet. We're still hashing out the details of what the programs would look like, but what I've seen so far from them seems very professional and very well put together, and I'm really excited to partner with them on this because it's extremely needed for us to get those kinds of jobs trained in the city. The 4 programs they have, other than their core, the one is the core program, which just kind of gets people working with tools and, getting them involved in that kind of thing. And there was electrician, carpenter, plumbing, and HVAC. So, I mean, wow, you can't go wrong with that. I mean, when we were in the meeting, it was interesting. I'd said to the group, and everybody in the room raised their hand, because there's not one person, I said, there's not one person in this room that can't say, God, I'd love to do, what to my house, but there's just not enough people. And so there's market potential for those people that go through those programs to do very well. So, and I'm excited about it. We need that, and I think it also kind of lends itself to us taking the lead on the incoming missile silo project as well, rather than letting somebody else take the lead on that. We're working with WNCC to try to jump ahead of that. So anyway, I just wanted to say that. And then I also want to thank the city council members that went to the firefighters banquet. It was a great showing. I had 3 council members there. That was really good, and it was a really good event. Also, lastly, I'm looking forward to Oktoberfest. So can't wait. This weekend, right? Fun. Yeah. Autumn is the Autumn Fest. Oktoberfest queen, so she'll fill us in. She keeps us abreast of all the latest developments. So that's all I had.
Okay. Anything from anybody else? Staff, chief, anything else?
No.
Dean, anything with landfill?
Nope.
Streets, tank? No. Joe, anything? No.
I just want to say the lights downtown look great.
Yes.
This is the first day that
They do look good.
Thank you. Yeah.
They do.
They do look good.
They do look good. Yeah.
That was done as a volunteer effort by people in the community, and Councilman Sherman will speak to that some, I think. But thank you. I think it's been a very nice and needed improvement.
Yes.
So nice way to showcase the community. Council, we already let Lane talk now. Bob, anything?
You're done. You're shut off for the night.
Burke? No. Marva?
Not today.
Not today. Brad?
Boy, do I have a bunch of...
Oh.
There we go.
So, first of all, quote, I know I'm stealing it from somebody, but I didn't get it, but I think it was maybe Henry Ford, whether you can't do so, or whether you think you can't, or you think you can, you're right. And the bottom line, we've seen the park project, a lot of things happening in Sydney. I spent a couple of days with the E3. We had 50-some people from other communities coming in here talking to us about everything from, how to get business loans to how to get your community involved, and just, dealing with buildings that aren't being sold or need renovated. It was awesome. I don't have all the McCook, Ogallala, Red Cloud, Ord, Old County. People from all over came here. There was at least 30, I think there was 50-some in the whole conference.
Filled the bus, right? Yeah.
And yeah, we took a bus around. We went to businesses. We saw all the great things that are going on in this community. Again, great for our community to sponsor something like that. They're obviously going to each one and doing their, showcasing their own economic developments that they're doing. And then as far as the lighting committee goes, so at some point we're going to have to do a proclamation for Larry Frost for starting this.
Oh, God, he's amazing, isn't he?
Because for years he was the only one involved in this, and just replacing the light bulbs and the sockets, not putting it all together, is was painful.
He flew up there with his cape to get to it, I think. He was-
Yeah, and so, yeah, obviously, and then, of course, after Larry left, John took it over, and John hit me up last year and said he's tired of climbing up and down on this building, so we got a committee together, we went and got some money, and we replaced every single bulb, not every single bulb, we're 99% done. We've got some sockets and some bulbs, and if you look real close, there's a couple that aren't in the right spot, but from, driving down the street, it looks fine. But yeah, Wendy Everson, Rob Coons, Roger Galloway, Lori was up on the roof with us.
Wow.
John Phillips masterminded the whole thing, brought us supplies and lights and threw stuff up to us and kept us going. And other people had helped, but again, appreciate your comments. I mean, we wanted to do this to make it for Oktoberfest, so that we can have them on. Our intent is to have them on when there's special events and things in town to keep the lights on. And second to last, we're just rolling it out with the Elks, and the City Auditorium renovation project is having a casino night on New Year's Eve. The same group of people that did the park project fundraiser are helping the Elks do one of the Elks on New Year's Eve, which I believe is December 31st again this year. Mark your calendar for that.
I think you're right.
And then, of course, the big party that we all look forward to is, as you mentioned, Oktoberfest. So should be 60 degrees. That's perfect. Too cold to do something else. Perfect for drinking beer. So that's it. That's all I got.
To follow up on that E3, that was my first time ever being at that Laziest Rent. And that's really a sharp outfit they got out there.
Yes.
Like, that's really
And I
nice.
really love the name.
Yeah. It's very cool out there, though.
My comments, I was going to say, I got to sit in on part of the E3 event. Some very nice presentations, each of the communities sharing different projects and things, visions, strategies that they had within their own communities, so brainstorming within the group. So I thought that was very good. And all of those groups continue to build momentum and synergies within each other, so that was a good thing to see. Also, David had mentioned the firefighters banquet, very nice event, and I guess I made the comment, there's a lot of ways a person can serve their community, but certainly none greater than protecting it. So hats off to those guys and for everything that they do for the citizens of Sydney and the surrounding areas on a daily basis. The Sydney Light Committee, as Brad talked to, was fun to be a part of. Everything was OSHA approved, by the way, for the record. As far as you know, it's interesting to understand some of the different sizes and shapes of some of these buildings. But I really do think that is a very worthwhile project. I mean, we're all very well aware that it wasn't, but just a few years ago, somebody took out an ad in the Sydney paper following the announcement of the sale of Cabela's saying, "Last one out, turn out the lights." Well, if anybody ever gave us a better slogan, it was them, because the lights are still on. And what better way to adopt that and embrace that and show that the lights are still on. So it's my goal and hope that those continue to stay on. We'll keep them on as long as we can, in fact, all the time. If there's something that Sydney is going to be known for and have an identity, it might as well be that. Looking forward to Oktoberfest as well, another great opportunity to showcase our community and all the wonderful things that are going on in our community. So with that, wrap up comments. The only other items left on the agenda is a closed session regarding personnel matters.
Mr. Mayor, it's my understanding that one of the employees that you were going to discuss requests that it be in closed session, the other requests that it be in open session. So
Okay.
however you would like to take that.
Yep, we can do that. Most certainly we can do that. And we want to Does it matter which one we do first, or,
However the council would like to do it.
okay. Council have any preferences? Well, look at that. Okay. And I don't know, Lori, if we're holding you up any, if we wait, or if you'd rather do yours first with the council or not, or,
If it would be easier to do the open session so you don't have to
Sure.
close it, that would be fine.
okay. So we will go on with the city manager's evaluation. He has requested that it be done in open session. So do you have copies of the evaluation?
I do. I'm sorry. Let me get this. There should be 5 still in there. You're supposed to take one.
We take one of each.
Right,
All right.
one of each. That way you can have it for,
Have it when you got it. Have it when you got it when you need it.
one's for Lori, one's for you.
Jay, just for a point of order, I know in some different places of the evaluation, names were used or mentioned, and I'm not sure that those people would all be
Correct.
willing to release their names as part of the
So-
evaluation.
When you go into executive session to discuss personnel or issues, you want to, one of the reasons that you're allowed to do that is to protect the reputation of anyone. So if there are comments that can be deemed to perhaps be negative, then I think that it's better to not use names. And I've mentioned that to David and to the council as well. You know, if you can discuss it without mentioning names, I think that's the appropriate way to do so.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that before we begin. Okay, so first then, this would be the annual performance evaluation for City Manager David Scott. We have an evaluation instrument consisting of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 items. Yeah.
Can I ask a question of legal counsel here?
Yep.
And then, does this become a public record now?
It does.
So then we would just ask you to strike names before releasing it. Okay. As I said, there's something like 15 different categories. They're kind of broad in nature. They ask a general question, but understand that how council members interpreted what that question meant to them can provide answers that differ greatly. And sometimes a response a council member might put in one spot, another council member might address it in a different area. So just understand that there is some variation between responses. And as a matter of protocol, we started using this instrument a couple years ago. I know when I became involved as mayor, I asked to have the participation of all council members in the evaluation. There was no real set standard or structure for how it was done in the past, sometimes involving several people, sometimes just the mayor. But for this evaluation, responses were solicited from each council member. So we'll go ahead and get started then. The first item talks about skills and knowledge.
Do you mind if I address this as a whole really quick? Is that okay if I?
No. I think we need to go through it item by item if you want to do it through publicly.
Well, if that's what you want to do, I'd rather talk about.
I think you'll have an
some of the-
opportunity to
Okay,
address it as
I
a
will.
whole when you.
That's fine.
You'll be afforded that opportunity.
Perfect, thank you.
Skills and knowledge demonstrates professional skills and knowledge for the responsibilities and duties assigned to the position. Council members can rate things as either unsatisfactory, needs improvement, meets expectations, or above expectations. So how each member interprets the category determines how they rate that. Couple people rated needs improvement, one meets expectations, couple above expectations. Councilman Olson, I'm impressed with.
Can I ask which council members?
Sure, you bet. I marked needs improvement, Sherman marked needs improvement, Ellwanger marked meets expectations, Radcliffe and Olson above expectations.
Thank you.
Responses. Olson, I'm impressed with David's knowledge of running a municipality in his first job as city manager. Ellwanger, he's a good working knowledge of the duties of the position. Galloway, still has not sought out a city manager program of study or other formal training that would improve skills and knowledge. Sometimes feels the need to present himself as an expert in areas he is not. It's okay to say, I'm not sure, but I'll find out. In this regard, it would help to have a better relationship with department heads. They need to feel comfortable approaching the city manager with ideas or concerns without worry about confrontation or a my way or the highway attitude. This was mentioned in past evaluations. I have not seen a change in this regard. Councilman Radcliffe, David has a solid handle on what needs to be done and manage things that get done timely. Councilman Sherman has some of the skills required to manage at this level. Needs improvement on collaboration with department heads. Department heads should feel comfortable discussing changes and improvements with David. Several employees and citizens have mentioned that in order to talk to you about ideas, they have to make it feel like it's your idea before they are heard. Okay. Item B, adaptability. The ability to accept changes, adapts well to a variety of situations. Galloway marked unsatisfactory, Sherman marked needs improvement, Radcliffe, Ellwanger, Olson marked meets expectations. Sherman seems to jump to conclusions and is not willing to listen to new ideas or possible solutions from others. Radcliffe, this is not a strong suit of David's, but I didn't feel that needs improvement was appropriate either. Occasionally, David gets frustrated when things do not go his way, and it is obvious. Galloway becomes easily frustrated and animated when initially confronted with a new issue rather than stepping back, taking a moment to listen to others in order to gain a better perspective of what is going on. Olson, I think David gets frustrated with some people's complaints and he digs in. We all get frustrated, but don't let them see you sweat. Item teamwork and cooperation. A willingness to work with colleagues in a collective effort to accomplish goals and objectives of the city. Sherman and Galloway marked needs improvement. Olson, Radcliffe, and Ellwanger marked meets expectations. Radcliffe, David is always willing to be a team player and cooperate with other entities. I would like to see him build relationships with other community entities, that being hospital, community center, schools, major employers, etc., to take this to the next level. Sherman, working with employees and citizens to get things accomplished. Park project was told it would not work. Galloway, too many derisive comments towards individuals or groups. If there is a perceived conflict with his views, park project as an example, quote, that will never work, quote. Comments about the hot dog vendor, chasing off a food truck vendor, less than tactfully. Comments about the chamber, comments towards E3 committee members. I have stressed greater participation in the Western Nebraska Economic Development Group, just if for communication, if nothing else. They solicited an email recently asking members for a letter of support. It was asking to approve a letter of support for a local business, one of ours, Adams Industries. So they were polling member communities to see if that was okay to provide a letter of support. 3 other communities voted through the chain email for approval. Nothing from Sidney, nor was there any communication as to why there wouldn't be support if that was the case. Also, David's been talking about rural workforce housing grants from Sidney, and from Sidney, and opportunities which is needed, Western Nebraska Economic Development has been talking about this for at least a couple of years with the rural workforce housing grants. And we have not participated in any of those discussions or as an active participant. But they have been doing that for the last 2 years. Item D, time management. The ability to manage own time effectively to eliminate unnecessary extended hours. Sherman marked unsatisfactory. Galloway marked needs improvement. Ellwanger, Olson, and Radcliffe marked above expectations. Ellwanger is very aware of what needs to be done on multiple projects and meets those deadlines. Galloway, David works hard, but there is no way he can do everything or be an expert on everything. We need an economic developer. We need an assistant city manager / public works director. We did finally hire a golf course director. Sherman, the lack of an assistant city manager, public works director, and economic development director don't allow time to be at all city project meetings and events. Radcliffe, David is very good at managing the city's work so that deadlines are met and there aren't surprises brought to council on a regular basis. Category E, communications. Conduct self in a professional manner when dealing with internal and external verbal or written communications. Sherman and Galloway marked unsatisfactory. Radcliffe and Ellwanger marked needs improvement. Olson marked meets expectations. Radcliffe, I am aware of a couple of ugly incidents with members of the public / employees of the city. This must stop. Sherman, Jeff Smith incident at the golf course. Oh, sorry. Sorry. Incident at the golf course. Another employee incident at the golf course. Community member incident at the golf course. May E3 chamber meeting described as throwing a fit. Olson, CB from above, which said, I think David gets frustrated with some people's complaints and he digs in. Galloway, recently David conveyed concern about the state potentially choosing North Platte over Sydney. No, I'm sorry, I skipped.
You need to go, you skipped Ellwanger, so you need to.
Sorry, Ellwanger, staying on communications, conduct self in a professional manner when dealing with internal, external, verbal communication. Sorry, thank you. Ellwanger, as a representative of the city, having very public disagreements on a golf course is unprofessional at the very least. Galloway, far too many negative interactions in the community. I've heard from numerous people in the community concerned about public arguments, people who aren't choosing sides, but simply concerned about the look it presents for the city, especially in front of others who might be considering Sydney as a place to live. And again, mentions several names from incidents, mostly at the golf course or towards chamber members. Item category F, judgment. The ability to reach logical, responsible, and timely decisions in all forms of situations. Sherman and Galloway marked unsatisfactory. Ellwanger marked needs improvement. Olson marked meets expectations. Radcliffe above expectations. Sherman mentioned bringing an incident bringing alcohol onto the golf course. Radcliffe, my recollection over the past year is that David's judgment / recommendations on council agenda items are usually spot on with what I'm thinking. Olson, I would like David to have a long-range vision and goals and hire and or train his department heads to run the day-to-day operations successfully. Galloway, recently David conveyed concern about the state potentially choosing North Platte over Sydney as a possible site for an inland port authority, expressing his dismay over the recent rail yard project that North Platte secured. I had informed David a year ago about that opportunity directly after Senator Groen from North Platte specifically asked me to come to his office while at the state capitol to discuss this bill, saying that it may be of value to Sydney if it was not to North Platte. Upon returning, I shared this information with David and he dismissed it out of hand. Yet a year later, it is now a concern after someone else pursued it. That is a lack of vision and judgment, in my opinion. Also, a lack of judgment would be stopping at his house while on the golf course to retrieve a bottle of Fireball, despite others in the group pointing out that the only alcohol allowed on the course is to be purchased from the golf course, which is operated by the city. Not a good look for the city manager to openly flaunt city policy. Ellwanger said, see previous section. Category G, budget management. The ability to prepare timely, accurate projections of departmental financial requirements and manage allocated financial resources. All council members marked above expectations. Ellwanger, this is an area he excels in. Galloway, David does a good job with the budget, staying within budgetary requirements, keeping the mill levy stable while making plans that accommodate future plans and purchases. Radcliffe, David does a solid job and has a very good understanding of the finances and the budget of the city. Given his previous role, this would be expected. However, in my opinion, it is a nice skill set to have a city manager. I have a hard time picturing having a city manager who is weak in this area. Sherman always meets city-required deadlines and plans accordingly, stays within budget limits. Category H, taking initiative. Takes the initiative to look for and make improvements to his or her department by finding ways to save resources, improve the level of service, and eliminate waste of time, materials, effort, hours, use of lean management principles. And it details that lean management is an approach of running a department that supports the concept of continuous improvement, a long-term approach to work that systematically seeks to achieve small incremental changes and processes in order to improve efficiency and quality. So that's a description of this category. Sherman and Galloway marked needs improvement. Radcliffe, Olson, and Ellwanger marked meets expectations. Sherman, several open positions require attention that draws from your ability to be as available to other organizations and city staff. Radcliffe, getting open staff positions, mainly economic development, filled would allow David more time for these types of efforts. Olson, again, economic development needs its own professional department head. Galloway, I have not seen enough growth or vision in the area of economic development with original ideas. Our quarterly meeting was just a review of current projects. Work on housing needs is getting better, but as been stated before, the city manager position requires more than a, quote, status quo, quote, daily manager. No other long-term vision or goals have been presented. Category I, innovation. It says, seeks knowledge of new technology that may be beneficial to the department or city, use the available technology for the benefit of the department and to coordinate multi-departmental efforts. All members, council members marked meets expectations. Galloway, the utility payment system has been a very good improvement. Efforts to improve community access to meetings through video/internet improvements have been good. Sherman, council meetings on YouTube and payment website are good improvements. No other comments. Category J, supervisory skills. Promotes the development of the employees, provides direction, motivation to employees to perform at their highest level, to responsibly evaluate the work of employees and take appropriate actions when necessary, to enforce city policies and procedures in a positive manner. Sherman and Galloway marked unsatisfactory. Ellwanger marked needs improvement. Olson and Radcliffe marked meets expectations. Sherman, there is no succession planning. Should be assistant city manager / public works director, deputy city clerk, along with each department. I hear unwillingness to listen to department heads' ideas. City employees also say unless you make them think it's his idea, it won't happen. Radcliffe, I would be curious to learn how David's direct reports would answer this question. Are they getting what they need from their leader? David has spread himself thin during the last year with the open positions and the difficulty getting replacements hired. Ellwanger, my concern is what steps are being taken when an employee turns in a resignation. Are we understanding reasons they are leaving? What attempts are there made to keep them? Galloway, I believe department heads are not willing to be open and express ideas or concerns without fear of confrontation or reprisals. I believe the main reason an assistant city manager / public works director has not been hired is because the one person that all council members view as extremely well qualified would be viewed as a direct threat to David's position. Category K, workload management. The ability to meet deadlines, prioritize workloads, and to produce the required amount of work to meet the needs of the city. Galloway and Sherman marked needs improvement. Ellwanger marked meets expectations. Olson and Radcliffe marked above expectations. Galloway, the renovation of the Elks Building and former city auditorium is not progressing satisfactorily, even with bidding and contracting challenges. We are in serious jeopardy of losing the state CDBG grant of $400,000. If that happens, it will be the second major CDBG grant Sydney will have lost, which does not look favorably with the state giving consideration to future grants. Having open city positions cannot allow David to work at proficient levels within his own position. Radcliffe, David has showed the willingness to step up and work extra and wear multiple hats while key positions were open. Long-term, this is not the answer, but his willingness to step up and work hard did not go unnoticed. Sherman, the lack of an assistant city manager / public works director and an economic development director could aid in moving along the old city auditorium renovation, incentivizing housing projects, and time to focus on city improvements. Category L, quality of work. Department produces a high level of service with limited interruptions, property damage, or customer complaints. Sherman and Galloway marks needs improvement. Radcliffe, Olson, and Ellwanger marks meets expectations. Sherman, complaints about unfavorable interactions with the public are way too frequent. Radcliffe, I cannot think of an instance where I've questioned David's quality of work. Galloway, interactions between the city and the public should be much more positive, helpful, with the city even reaching out preemptively, and definitely not negative. An example, a phone call from a citizen inquiring about the status of the Family Dollar building shouldn't be met with derogatory comments about him being put out and having to find out information. The next category is professional development. Professional development is the skills and knowledge an employee gains to optimize his or her professional development job growth. And it asks us to list the most successful job accomplishments since the last evaluation. Ellwanger's bullet points. Working with Jason Nelke, sorry, names, I guess.
I think it's a positive viewpoint.
Okay, thank you. Working with Jason Nelke on the Safe Streets project, working with Jamie Bright on the Creative District. Sherman, allowing Jason to help grant writing, completing budgets that allow the city to stay at the current mill levy. Radcliffe, golf course situation seems to have stabilized with the hiring of Lance. That may seem small, but the level of complaints by key community players has reduced significantly. The work done on coming up with a housing solution is good, although yet to bear fruit. I know David put a lot of work in and fought hard for Sydney on the missile project. Appreciate the efforts there. Galloway, bullet points, successful audits, keeping mill levy stable. No other comments. N, category N, key strengths. Galloway, bullet point, financial knowledge. Ellwanger, organization, financial understanding of city and its departments. Olson, motivated, knowledgeable, articulate. Radcliffe, David's knowledge of the job and how a city has to function is very good. Gives me comfort that nothing will get forgotten about or an important deadline will not get missed while David is running the city. I think David can successfully get some of our goals accomplished, like the East Old Post Road corridor, trail improvement, some sort of housing program, additional street projects, and downtown improvements. Sherman, bullet point, financial acumen. O, problems, category O, problems since last evaluation. Sherman's bullet points, behavior in public settings, behavior with staff, adequate staffing and retention. Radcliffe, bullet points, 2 embarrassing public confrontations that I know of, those need to stop. Olson, CB from above. Ellwanger's bullet points, heated arguments in public places. Galloway's bullet points, negative outbursts in public, negative interactions with citizens, vendors, organizations, loss of staff, negative interactions with other staff. Category P talks about areas to work on / goals for next year. Ellwanger, professionalism. Galloway, behavior, positive communications. Olson, improve economic development, find a professional to run that aspect day to day. Radcliffe, building relationships is going to be vital to David's ability to move the city forward. Strong relationships with key players will be crucial in moving our objectives forward. I'm wondering about the staff's willingness to follow David's leadership. He has continued to lose some long-tenured staff. We'll leave names out. But in fairness, has made a couple of good hires, in my opinion, Lance, Jay, and Marshall. If he can successfully fill his open positions, this will allow him to spend more time managing his people and developing leaders and less time doing work. Sherman, behavior in public settings representing the city. Behavior with staff and improving communication. Adequate staffing and retention. And then it moves to another category, supervisor's comments. Galloway, 1, if the city manager becomes a liability to have out in public, then we can't have him out in the public. 2, we have lost too many long-tenured staff. 3, we're going to lose more under current conditions. The next category is employees' comments, and David didn't have anything written at this time, but you may address
I do have something to address.
comments towards that now.
Okay, thank you. I won't belabor it by going over every single little thing, so I'm sure I'm going to miss a few things. I really would like to address every single one of those comments, because I think we should, and maybe on an individual basis, I would love to do that, but I want to, in essence...
Well, you requested that it be a public hearing, so I think you could talk
Yes.
about it.
Yeah, and I'm going to. If you want me to go over bullet by bullet, I can. But I just wanted to kind of give an overall here. First of all, in a response that I did prepare for the council, I want to thank the council for their feedback, both positive and negative. And believe me, I take both very seriously, positive and negative. And I take that to heart, and trust me when I say that to you. I was very surprised when I read the evaluation. It's apparent the council members are widely divided about my ability to do my job duties in almost every single category. I did narrow it down to the 3 categories where it seemed to be a consensus out of the 11 on some things that I can work on, and so I tried to focus on them in my response to the council. And the one thing I wanted to mention that we all are in agreement, I mean, there is no, and obviously just by reading this, you know we're all in agreement. I would love to get some positions filled as well. I have been trying, and Autumn and I have beat our head against